60 years. 60 fucking years. That's how long England has waited. 60 years of heartbreak, 60 years of media hype that ends in embarrassment, 60 years of a nation's dreams getting absolutely shattered on the biggest stage in the world. And today? Today is the day that curse either breaks, or it gets even worse. Because standing in their way is the only team that's proven they can actually hurt them when it matters most. This is England versus Croatia. And if you think this is just another group stage match, you're about to be proven catastrophically wrong. This is England versus Croatia. And if you think this is just another group stage match, you have no idea what's coming. Let's go back. July 11th, 2018. Luzhniki Stadium, Moscow. England is 30 minutes from a World Cup final. Kieran Trippier's free kick has them ahead. The nation is dreaming. The pubs are erupting. 60 years of pain are about to end. And then something breaks. Ivan Perisic scores. Mario Mandzukic scores in extra time. And in that split second, every England player on that pitch, every fan in that stadium, realizes the same terrible truth. You can do everything right. You can believe. You can deserve it. And still, the world can take it away from you. Croatia, a nation of 4 million people, a team that had already played 3 consecutive knockout matches that went to extra time, a team running on fumes and sheer will, they didn't just beat England. They broke England. They walked into that semi-final, looked at England's golden generation and said, "Not today, not ever." That night wasn't a football match. That night was a lesson in the cruelty of sport at the highest level. That night was a masterclass in mental fortitude, meeting expectation and crushing it, and England has been trying to unlearn it ever since. 8 years later, England walks out of that tunnel again. Same enemy, same pressure, but this time the weight is infinitely heavier because everything has changed except the core truth. Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham, Bukayo Saka, Declan Rice. These aren't promising youngsters anymore. These are players at the absolute peak of their powers. They play for Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Arsenal, Manchester City. They've won domestic titles. They've won European trophies. They've been to finals. They've scored goals that will be replayed for generations. This is the most talented squad England has assembled since 1966. On paper, it's not even close. The depth is absurd. The quality is generational. But here's the problem that nobody wants to talk about. Phil Foden isn't here. Cole Palmer isn't here. The 2 most creative players England has produced in a generation have been left at home. Thomas Tuchel, in his first major tournament as England manager, made the ruthless decision. He looked at their Premier League form, looked at his system, and said no. He decided that form in March and April, when the season was winding down, mattered more than their talent, their pedigree, their ability to produce magic in tournaments. Now England walks into the World Cup with an elite squad missing 2 of its most dangerous weapons. And that psychological wound? It's already there. Open, unhealed, waiting for Croatia to expose it. Gary Neville, one of England's greatest defenders, went on television and said something that sent shockwaves through the English media. Harry Kane is the only genuine world-class player in this squad. Think about that. Bellingham? Excellent. Saka? Brilliant. Rice? Elite, but world-class? Just one. The man playing in Germany. The man who has scored more goals for England than anyone in history. The man who has won the Bundesliga, the DFB Pokal, 3 Premier League Golden Boots, a World Cup Golden Boot. The man who has never lifted a trophy for his country. Harry Kane is walking into this match carrying the weight of 60 years on his shoulders. He's the designated savior, the one man who can end the curse, the one man who can make all the pain worth it. The one man who, if he fails, will be remembered not for his 39 international goals or his incredible consistency, but for the moment he couldn't deliver when it mattered most. That's not pressure. That's not even expectation. That's crucifixion by 1,000 newspaper headlines. Now let's talk about the man on the other side of that pitch. Luka Modric, 40 years old. 40. In 2018, when he eliminated England, he was 33, in his prime, invincible. He won the Ballon d'Or that year, the first player not named Messi or Ronaldo to do so in a decade. He became the heartbeat of Real Madrid's Champions League dynasty. He won 6 European Cups. He played in more high-pressure matches than probably any player on that England squad has played in their entire careers combined. And now he's 40, moving like he's on borrowed time. Every sprint is measured. Every tackle is calculated. Every pass is a statement. But here's the thing that absolutely shatters the assumption that age has caught him. He just proved he's not done. At Euro 2024, Modric became the oldest player ever to score in a major tournament, 38 years and 289 days, against Italy, in a do-or-die playoff. On a stage where most players his age are retired watching from home, Modric was still scoring goals, still leading his nation, still, proving that age means nothing when your mentality is forged in steel and your experience runs deeper than anyone else's. And he won that match. He didn't just participate, he won. This isn't a man coming to his final tournament hoping to sneak through. This is a gladiator who's been tested in the cruelest way possible. He grew up as a refugee during the Balkans War. He left Zadar as a child, fleeing conflict, and became one of the greatest midfielders in football history. He played in the 2018 World Cup final. He's won everything there is to win at club level. He's won major tournaments with his nation. He's been counted out more times than he can remember. And every single time, he's come back not just stronger, but more dangerous, more composed, more lethal. Now he's getting one final act, one final World Cup, one final chance to prove that Croatia isn't just a one-tournament wonder, that they're a genuine football power, that Luka Modric isn't some fading star, he's a titan who's still capable of destruction. Here's what breaks English fans' souls right now. England beat Croatia in that Nations League playoff recently. It was a competitive match. England won. The pressure should be off, right? Wrong. Because after that match, Modric looked into the camera and said something that's been living rent-free in English media ever since. He said England needs to respect their opponents. He said the English media talks too much and plays too little. He said underestimating Croatia was a huge mistake. And the reason that quote matters so much is because it's proven. In 2018, every English analyst, every English pundit, every piece of English media was saying Croatia was finished, exhausted. A miracle team that would collapse against the power of England's elite generation. And what happened? Croatia humiliated them. They came from behind. They scored twice. They went to a World Cup final while England went home in tears. They didn't just win the match. They won the mental battle before it even started. They showed that England's confidence was actually arrogance. Their expectation was actually vulnerability. Now it's happening again. The media is writing the same script. The pundits are making the same predictions. The fans are feeling the same hope, the same expectation, the same dangerous certainty that this time, finally, it'll be different. But Modric has heard it all before. He's walked this path. He's climbed this mountain. He knows exactly how this story goes. He's lived it. And here's the terrifying part for England. Croatia doesn't crumble under pressure. They get stronger. They feed off doubt. They were supposed to be broken in 2018 after playing the entire tournament in extreme conditions. They were supposed to be exhausted. They were supposed to lose. Instead, they thrived. They got hungrier. They got meaner. They got more dangerous. And now they're walking in here with the exact same energy, the exact same mentality, with a captain who's proven age. Doesn't matter when you've got ice in your veins and a resume that speaks louder than any newspaper headline ever could. So here's the brutal truth nobody in England wants to hear. This match is genuinely 50-50. England could dominate the first half and win 3-1, or they could press too hard, leave spaces at the back, and Croatia could catch them on the break and win 2-1. Both are genuine possibilities. What is not a possibility is England comfortably destroying Croatia. Because Croatia doesn't lose to anyone comfortably anymore. They're too experienced, too organized, too mentally strong. This is going to be a battle. This is going to be a match where England's elite players have to earn every yard, have to prove they belong, have to show that all the hype and all the money and all the global recognition actually translates to winning when the stakes are highest. If England wins, they finally break the curse. They walk through that door. They prove that this generation is different. The narrative flips. 60 years becomes a memory. But if England loses, if they actually lose to Croatia, then something fundamentally breaks inside that squad. Then the narrative becomes real. Then the curse isn't just a story anymore. It's real. 60 years becomes 70. The golden generation becomes the generation that had everything and achieved nothing. And a nation that's been waiting since 1966 has to wait even longer. You see, this is the beautiful tragedy of international football at this level. It's not about skill anymore. Everyone on that pitch is skilled. It's about who can maintain their mentality when everything gets loud, when everything gets chaotic, when the pressure becomes suffocating. And that's where Croatia has spent the last 8 years getting better and better at this. They've learned how to absorb pressure. They've learned how to turn the knife when it matters. They've learned that English teams crack. That's not a prediction. That's a historical fact. It's a resume. And England will make mistakes. They always do in these moments. Because pressure creates mistakes. Pressure makes your passes sloppy. Pressure makes your decision-making worse. Pressure makes the environment toxic. And that's where Modric thrives. That's where Croatia thrives. Because they're comfortable in that space. They're comfortable being the underdog narrative. They're comfortable being counted out. And every time England doubts themselves, even for a split second, Croatia gets stronger. But here's the thing that makes this match truly special. This isn't just about football. This is about national identity. This is about whether a generation of elite players can finally break a curse that's been haunting their country for 6 decades. This is about a 40-year-old midfielder in his final World Cup getting the chance to prove that he's still the most dangerous player on that pitch. This is about 2 teams walking out of that tunnel in Dallas, Texas, and one of them going to have their entire tournament trajectory completely changed by what happens in the next 90 minutes. This is about Harry Kane looking across the pitch and seeing Luka Modric, the man who broke England in 2018, the man who's still standing, the man who has nothing left to prove and everything left to take. And in that moment, every England player knows the truth. This isn't just a rematch. This is a crucible moment. This is the tournament that's supposed to define an entire generation of English players. And if they lose, if they actually lose to Croatia, then something fundamentally breaks inside that squad. Then the narrative becomes real. Then the curse isn't just a story anymore. It's real. 60 years becomes the new reality. The golden generation becomes the generation that had everything and achieved nothing. And a nation that's been waiting since 1966 has to wait even longer. This is the weight they carry. This is the moment they've been building toward. This is England versus Croatia. The rematch, the reckoning, the crucible. June 17th, 2026. AT&T Stadium, Dallas, Texas. 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Millions watching around the world. England walks out of that tunnel. The weight of 60 years on their shoulders. The expectation that this is finally their moment. The belief that this generation is different. Croatia walks out opposite them. The same enemy, the same pressure, the same terrifying composure. Both teams know what's at stake. Neither team is ready for what's coming. Because this isn't just another group stage match. This is the match that will define a generation. This is the match that will either break the curse or make it permanent. This is the match where experience meets expectation. Where 60 years of pain meets the present moment. Where Harry Kane, the man who was supposed to save England, faces Luka Modric, the man who's already proven he can stop him. This is England versus Croatia. And when it's over, one of these teams will walk off that pitch as heroes. The other will walk off carrying the weight of 60 years of failure. There's no middle ground. There's no consolation. There's just the moment. The whistle. The 90 minutes that will decide everything. England versus Croatia. The rematch. The reckoning. The crucible. And neither team is ready for what's coming. This is the crux of the entire match. Kane has spent his career being the biggest fish in his pond. At Tottenham, he was dominant. At Bayern Munich, he won trophies, the Bundesliga, the DFB Pokal. He's scored goals in Champions League finals. He's been the best striker in the world for stretches. He's been clinical, precise, ruthless in his finishing. But he's never carried his entire nation through a tournament like this. He's never been the man who broke the curse. He's never had to absorb 60 years of collective national pain and transform it into something other than expectation. He's never had to lead a nation to the promised land. Modric has. Modric has played in a World Cup final and walked out without the trophy, only to come back 8 years later still hungry for more. He's lifted the Champions League 6 times. He's won the Ballon d'Or. He's been the underdog and the favorite. He's been counted out and written off. He's been told he's too old, too slow, too small, and he's proven them all wrong, every single time, with a consistency that's almost supernatural. Kane is walking into the most important match of his career. Modric is walking into his final act. And for a man like Modric, there's no pressure that's heavier than the pressure he's already carried. For a man who's survived war, survived doubt, survived the decline narrative that haunts every athlete who dares to keep playing past 35, there's nothing in a football match that can hurt him anymore. Now let's talk about what actually happens on that pitch from a tactical perspective. England, for all their talent, is dependent on certain things going right. They need Kane to convert chances into goals, not just create space for others. They need Bellingham to be brilliant in midfield, breaking lines, dictating tempo, arriving in the box as a secondary threat. They need Saka to produce magic on the wing, creating asymmetrical threats that cramped defenses can't contain. They need everything to work perfectly. Croatia doesn't need perfection. Croatia needs to survive the first 45 minutes, frustrate England, get into their heads, make them feel the weight of expectation. They need to use their experience and their mentality to suffocate the game, control the tempo, turn it into a battle instead of a ballet. That's been the Modric formula for 4 World Cups. That's literally his blueprint. Get compact, get organized, get in your head, and then strike when you're weakest. Defensively, England has concerns, real concerns. John Stones has been dealing with injuries all season. Their center-back pairing isn't as settled as they'd like. Their fullbacks are good going forward but can get exploited on the counter. Croatia has Josko Gvardiol, a generational talent who's already proven he can play at the highest level for Manchester City, defending against the world's best strikers every week. They have experience everywhere. They have organization. They have the kind of structure you need when you're playing against elite attacking talent. So when England tries to impose their dominance, when they try to force the pace, when they try to drown Croatia in wave after wave of attacks, they might find that Croatia simply refuses to break. They'll sit there, compact and organized, waiting for the mistake. And trust me, mistakes will come. And here's the insidious part that most people don't understand about international football at this level. It's not about skill anymore. Everyone on that pitch is skilled. It's not about talent or athleticism or even tactical knowledge. It's about who can maintain their mentality when everything gets loud, when everything gets chaotic, when the pressure becomes suffocating. And that's where Croatia has spent the last 8 years getting better and better at this. They've learned how to absorb pressure. They've learned how to turn the knife when it matters. They've learned that English teams crack. That's not a prediction. That's not an opinion. That's a historical fact at this point. It's not a narrative they're creating. It's a resume they're reading back to you. Because that's what pressure does. That's what 60 years of collective national expectation does to a team. It makes them want it too badly. It makes them press too aggressively. It makes them take risks they shouldn't take. It makes them vulnerable in ways they'd never be in a friendly or a qualifier where the stakes feel smaller. But this is the World Cup. This is the stage where legacies are written or destroyed. This is the moment where a player either becomes immortal or becomes a cautionary tale. And England will make mistakes. They always do in these moments.